Hello, my name is Sadell Hardy II, and I am an advisory board member with Educating Minorities About Transplants Incorporated. Jameisha Rogers is our guest today, who will shine the light on kidney disease. She is a registered nurse and certified renal nurse consultant. She is the founder of Nephrology Nurse Leadership Network, a kidney care and geriatric consulting company that is located in Baltimore, Maryland. Ms. Rogers is passionate about chronic care and management for kidney patients and educates people with chronic kidney disease about dialysis care options. Now, welcome, Ms. Jameisha Rogers.
The Nephrology Nurse Leadership Network is a concierge clinical consulting company. And what we do is specialize in supporting kidney care organizations to improve the patient experience by making sure that staff and leadership are fully equipped to provide that care with a number of resources from compliance to patient education and safety, things that really matter in the day-to-day operations of a kidney care organization. We also specialize in supporting law firms and legal practices with assisting patients and their families in that way when it regards kidney care issues or issues in the geriatric setting. So the Nephrology Nurse Leadership Network provides comprehensive support in the consulting realm in those areas.
Tell us a little bit about your chronic care management for those kidney patients.
So under a separate organization, I also work as a chronic care nurse, and I do kidney care management and education. And so in that, I help patients that have not quite reached the stage of needing dialysis to better understand their disease, have access to resources, and be able to do the things necessary to halt the progression of the chronic kidney disease, wherever stage they are. And for individuals that are going to inevitably go down the path of needing dialysis or a transplant in the future, I help those individuals under the direction of a nephrologist to get education on the dialysis treatment options that are available, including transplant, so that that person and their family can have their questions answered, understand their treatment options, and move forward with whatever is going to work best for them and their situation.
How would a person know exactly which stage they're in their kidney care?
Well, typically that starts with the primary care provider. Most individuals have a primary care provider and they go get a physical maybe once a year if they're generally healthy, or if they have any chronic conditions such as diabetes or high blood pressure or other comorbid conditions or health concerns, they may see a doctor more frequently throughout the year. There's a test that's called a renal function panel that a primary care doctor can do. And that doctor would be able to see how well the kidneys are functioning. There are two tests that a patient can know about, know their numbers, and that is their EGFR, which is the estimated glomerular filtration rate. That tells an individual how well their kidneys are working, what percentage of the kidneys are good, or what percentage of the kidneys are not working well. When that is a good number, the creatinine or the waste products in the blood will be low because the kidneys are working getting rid of that waste. If the EGFR starts to go down, or the function of the kidney starts to go down, the amount of waste in the blood would increase over time. And so knowing those two numbers, working with their primary care provider, could really help someone to understand where they are in relation to kidney care health overall.
Let me ask you about A1C. I know several friends and family members who are diabetic, and they often mention A1C. What exactly is that?
The hemoglobin A1C is a 3-month average of the blood glucose levels of an individual. And so when someone has diabetes and that A1C is well controlled, and that indicates that the blood sugar on average is at a relatively stable number, that is really good for a diabetic. So that would reduce, in some instances, the progression of kidney disease, because diabetes is one of the number one reasons why people have kidney failure. So when an individual is a known diabetic and they are managing their glucose in collaboration with their doctor or their endocrinologist, when that's a good number, they are really helping their kidneys to stay as healthy as possible too.
So, what number is an indicator that a person is in serious trouble with their kidney health?
Well, each person is different. So there's a scale with stages 1 through 5. So stage 1, you're at 90% or higher. That's relatively good. Stage 2, you're at 60 to 89. There's some mild kidney damage, but the kidneys still work well. Your primary care doctor, if you're stage 1 or 2, they're most likely going to continue to monitor that. You may not even be referred to a specialist. They may just continue to look at it. But if the person starts to decline below 89, the primary care specialist may say, okay, we want a kidney doctor to look into this, because the person could be entering stage 3, which if they're stage 3A, that ranges from the 40s to the 80s, and then it goes down in increments. So it really depends on what the person has going on already, what their baseline is. That will determine when the doctor will send them to the renal care practitioner or the nephrologist. However, when people get close to 30, we see somebody getting close to 30, that is definitely something we don't want to wait. They should definitely be, if they're trending in that direction, they should definitely be talking to a nephrologist.
Are there symptoms or signs that you should look for when you have kidney disease?
Most often in the early stages, people don't have any symptoms. But as time goes on, food may not taste the same. They may lose their appetite. Person may be more tired than usual. They have a change in bladder and urination, the ability to get rid of fluid. They may start to swell. That's in some of the later stages or when it's progressed. But when the early disease process starts, most often people do not have any symptoms. And that is why diabetes and high blood pressure are kind of known as silent killers, and as well as kidney disease, because the damage is being done on a level where a person is gradually going down. They're gradually decompensating, and the body just starts to work around it. And it's almost like a subtle thing. So this is where the awareness comes in. If you know your numbers, you're going to your doctor regularly, you are in tune with your body, and when things are not looking right, you're getting a follow-up or reaching out to your provider. Those are just really, really important, because kidney disease looks different on every person. Two people can have the same number, and one person can say, oh, I feel great, and somebody else will be going to the hospital with all these symptoms. So it's not really a one size fits all. It's an individualized thing, and it comes down to knowing where you stand and trying as hard as you can when you do know where you stand to be compliant, and working with your healthcare provider. As a nurse educator, those are some of the main things that I feel that people miss most often, and that if more people could be doing those things, that we would have less people pivoting into needing kidney care support. They would just be able to manage their chronic diseases. For people that are not at the point where they need a kidney care, they having a kidney issue, they should not ignore the instructions from the doctor for diabetes and hypertension. A lot of times, because they are silent diseases, you don't feel pain most often when your diabetes is on a rampage or the high blood pressure is uncontrolled. Those are silent diseases, but they still do a lot of damage. So I really want people to understand the importance of adhering to those follow-up appointments, taking their medications as prescribed, and working closely with their primary care doctor, because ignoring the information about diabetes and high blood pressure unfortunately has landed a lot of people to the point of needing dialysis or a transplant, because they were told early on, hey, you got diabetes, hey, you got high blood pressure. They get out of the hospital. I've seen it working in acute nursing as a dialysis nurse. They're admitted for these things and they don't follow up after that hospitalization. And then boom, 2-3 years later, sometimes even sooner, the person's sitting there in a dialysis chair. Or now they're in dialysis having to talk with the social worker about a transplant. And it's not just older people. These are younger people, people in their 20s, 30s, and 40s with uncontrolled blood pressure and diabetes walking around, and they're not taking it seriously. So that goes for anybody. It doesn't matter your race, your background, your economic status. If you've been told that you have any of these issues, work closely with your doctor, because ignoring it, the progression to kidney damage and other health problems can happen very quickly, even when you don't feel bad. So I really want to let everybody know that that is very important. And I see that more often than I would like. And I would just want other people not to go through some of that same hardship that I see some of my patients have to contend with. I'm not exactly sure as a nurse if diabetes is reversible, but I do know that it is manageable. I do know that individuals that have been diagnosed with diabetes can gain control over the damage that the disease does by working in collaboration with their doctor. It may require a combination of medications. It may require some dietary changes. It may require some other lifestyle changes, such as exercising, ceasing to smoke. It could be a number of things that may have to happen, but I do know that it is manageable. And I've seen, even in my own family members, individuals that have been diagnosed with diabetes go from being insulin dependent or being on pills to being able to manage it with their diet if they are adhering to some other things as they're directed. So it really takes focus and effort on the part of not just the individual that has it, but oversight, good oversight by the doctor and the patient, the doctor, and whatever family members that are involved, everyone working together for that common goal. But it is definitely, in many cases, manageable. Of course, there's always some people that may do all that they can do and they still may struggle. And that's when you may find an endocrinologist or another diabetes specialist would be involved in that care. So that's my take on it from my experience as a nurse. 15 years that I've been a nurse, family members are a pivotal piece in the puzzle of an individual being able to have quality of life. I have noticed time and time again that when an individual is faced with not even just with the focus on dialysis, but any health issue, when a person has support from close family members or friends, in those instances, they tend to do better because they're not shouldering that burden on their own. They have individuals that can help navigate the things that may come up as they try to manage their disease. And so it can be mentally, emotionally, physically exhausting, trying to go to multiple doctor's appointments, trying to remember your medications, trying to remember what you can eat, because sometimes you have high blood pressure, you can eat certain things, but if you're diabetic, you can't. So sometimes when people have multiple situations going on, it can just be overwhelming in general. And so having the family support and good friends there can really help ease that burden, shoulder that weight, and help a person to really have better quality of life. I see it time and time again. Don't exclude your family, include them. They want to help, they want to know what's going on. And I've seen it where people try to shoulder it themselves. And then I'm like, hey, let's get your significant other involved, or let's get your children involved. The person that's going through the problem, they're so concerned about being a burden on others that they don't want to share that information. However, I've seen time and time again, there are many family members, and some people that don't have direct family members have friends and other people that care for them that want to be there. So give them an opportunity to help you and don't shoulder it alone. So that's for anybody that's listening, that's dealing with anything on your own. Reach out to your family and friends. They want to help. And if you don't have family and friends, let your nurse and your doctor know, hey, I need help. I am struggling. I cannot do this on my own, so that you can get the proper resources and support. There are plenty of things out there.
If someone wanted to talk further with you, what would be the best way for them to contact you?
Well, you can always find me on my website, www.nephrologynurse.com, or you can look me up on LinkedIn. I'm very responsive there to messages, and I post things frequently about ways to make people better with that are struggling with their kidney care, or just making healthcare a better place in general. So if you have any questions or anything, have any concerns, you can always reach out to me and on any of those platforms.
Jameisha, you are just a wealth of knowledge. The experience just really speaks through your voice. In closing, what is the most important thing that you would like for someone to know with chronic kidney disease?
One of the most important things that you can remember, whoever happens to listen to this, is that kidney disease is not the end. You are valuable, your life is important, and you are loved. And the best thing that you can do for yourself is know your numbers, know where you stand, and get the resources and support that you need to have the best quality of life possible. There are so many advances with medicine now, and so many things that are here. There's so many options, from different ways to have dialysis, if that ends up being the case, and even transplant. It's a wonderful gift. The more you know, the better decisions you can make for yourself. And so I would just like to close with that. Get all the information you can and take advantage of the support and resources that are available. And anyone that needs me, I'm here.
On behalf of educating minorities about transplants, in honor and recognition of National Minority Donor Awareness Month, we certainly want you to know how much we thank you and appreciate you for educating us. Thank you.
Thank you.